After their bestie Conchita somehow bags a British lord, the rich AF St. George and Elmsworth families ship their daughters off to England with one mission: secure the bag. I mean, a husband. Ginny St. George and Lizzie Elmsworth make their London debut and immediately start crushing on the same guy, James, who just happens to be the hot younger brother of Lord Richard. But his bougie family is not impressed with the American invasion. Meanwhile, Ginny's sister Nan is out here being a total free spirit, catching the attention of a dreamy bachelor named Guy Thwart. But things get messy when Ginny accidentally spills the tea that Nan is actually illegitimate. So the fam ships Nan off to Cornwall to avoid drama. But plot twist, while taking a little ocean dip, Nan meets Theo, a literal duke who's over the whole status thing and just wants someone real. Conchita throws a major house party at Runnymede. Ginny tries to flirt her way back into James' heart, but he swerves and ends up dancing with Lizzie instead. Then, during a game of sardines, basically hide and seek, Mabel almost kisses Honoria. Meanwhile, James takes a dark turn and humiliates Lizzie by making her strip in front of him. Then Conchita overhears Richard trash-talking her, saying she'll never truly belong. Nan opens up to Guy about her not-so-legit birth situation, and instead of being chill, he bails. But just when Nan's down bad, Theo shows up and drops a surprise proposal. Like, will you marry me? As Nan's still deciding whether to say yes to Theo's surprise proposal, his mom casually throws a private ball at their castle. Nan starts vibing more with Theo and even bonds with the Dowager Duchess, aka Scary Rich Grandma, but then Guy shows up, and surprise, he's Theo's bestie. Meanwhile, across the pond of drama, Ginny and James go full rom-com and elope. Back at the ball, Nan dances with Theo under candlelight and castle ceilings. But the romantic moment gets interrupted when Conchita pulls a full movie moment, running into the rain, sobbing. Richard chases after her. They have their big dramatic reunion, and just like that, back on. Oh, and Mabel and Honoria finally kiss. Guy pulls Nan aside and promises he'll keep her illegitimacy secret from Theo. Next morning, Nan tells Theo she's ready to say yes, but she needs to go back to New York first. The girls land back in New York, and Patricia St. George immediately goes full extra, throwing a bougie party to flex her daughter's successful love lives. But Nan's not having it. She shuts it down and announces she's finally telling Theo the truth. She tries to get answers from her dad about her past, but he's useless as always. Meanwhile, Guy's spiraling and sends a drunk telegram to Nan confessing his love, which Theo reads. Over at the Elmsworths, Lavinia catches Mabel kissing a maid, and Conchita's stressing that she and Richard might never escape the grip of the ultra-judgy Brightling seas. Nan makes peace with Patricia, who gives her a big, heartfelt, "You're my daughter no matter what" moment. Then Theo hits Nan with a surprise proposal. Again. This time for a quickie wedding. And while all this is going down, Patricia tells her husband their marriage is toast. She's done. Guy throws a bonfire night bash at his estate to keep up appearances. Theo, ever the matchmaker, brings along Gion to casually set her up with Guy. The crew gets sent into a spooky hedge maze on a torch hunt, and while lost in the leaves, Nan finds out about the telegram Guy sent. On a lighter note, Ginny and Lizzie squash their beef and become besties again. Meanwhile, Mabel and Honoria do more than kiss this time. Then we get the most intense poker game ever, not for money, but for feelings. Theo low-key confronts Guy about everything, with Nan stuck in the middle. But later at the bonfire, they all patch things up like slightly messy grown-ups. Mabel, however, snaps and lashes out at Honoria. It's Christmas, and the whole chaotic crew is spending the holidays with the Tintagels. Guy's now officially courting Jean, but he and Nan manage a chill truce about her upcoming wedding. Meanwhile, Lizzie finally confesses to Ginny that James has been tormenting her. But Ginny? Fully in denial. Instead of supporting her friend, she spills Nan's illegitimacy tea straight to James. Mabel decides to marry Miles, not for love, but for vibes and visas, just so she and Lizzie can stay in England. Mrs. Tess Valley sees how genuinely happy Conchita and Richard are, and decides it's time to dip. Her matchmaking duties are complete. Then James runs to the Dowager Duchess with Nan's secret. But Nan, she's done hiding. She quietly tells Guy she's actually relieved the engagement is off. Then, in a total mic drop moment, Nan announces her illegitimacy to everyone at the Christmas luncheon. The room goes silent, until Theo stands up, confesses his love, and says he still wants to marry her. It's New Year's Eve, and the whole squad rolls up to the Brightlingsea estate for one last round of drama. Nan's trying to keep it together, but the posh guests are straight up icing her out over the whole illegitimacy reveal. Then her parents show up. Patty's not impressed with Ginny for spilling Nan's secret and gives her the scolding of the century. Later, Patty quietly tells her husband she's done. Like divorce papers coming right after Nan's wedding done. Nan sneaks up to the roof with Guy, but when they come back down, Theo drops a bomb. He knew about Guy's love telegram the whole time. Theo makes Guy read the whole thing out loud. Then Guy hits back with some truth. Theo also knew about Nan's mom and said nothing. She storms out. Meanwhile, Lizzie gets publicly humiliated by James. Again. And she finally snaps, dragging Ginny for standing by him. Ginny, now secretly pregnant, tries to leave the party but ends up crawling back to James anyway. Theo and Guy patch things up and say their goodbyes like two guys who've been through a lot. Nan and Guy have one last rooftop chat. He tells her he still loves her, but he's also proposed to Lady Hopeley, because it's time they both moved on. It's the day before Nan's wedding, and Theo gives her one last out. Say the word by morning, and it's off. At a pre-wedding ceremony, Nan cuts off Ginny, and Richard finally explodes at his mother, announcing he's done with the Brightlingseas and is moving to the U.S. with Conchita. But then, plot twist, Conchita tells him her family's broke. Richard still doesn't care. Meanwhile, Ginny faints mid-staircase, and Miles drops a bomb on James. She's pregnant. James loses it. Patty tells Tracy she's absolutely divorcing him, now that Nan's about to be a duchess. Guy climbs into Nan's room, confesses he dumped Lady Hopeley, and they finally admit they're still in love. But things get real fast. Ginny shows up bruised, tells them everything, and they try to make a run for it, planning to dip to South America. But James finds them and drags Ginny back. The next morning, Mabel breaks up with Miles and publicly declares her love for Honoria. Then, just as Nan's about to marry Theo, the group pulls a massive stall outside the chapel so Ginny can escape with Guy. But Nan still goes through with the wedding, not for love, but for power. With Duchess status, she can now protect Ginny and Guy from James. And finally, Tracy drops one last twist on Patty. Nan's real mom? She's back.